Hey everyone. Welcome to the Tellor community call, May 5th, 2020, Cinco de Mayo. Um, yeah, been a nice busy week for us all. And hopefully you guys are all staying well. One of the Another weekend down in quarantine, so keeping it up. As far as announcements go, big thing. Obviously, if you guys saw this weekend, I gave two amazing presentations at DeFi discussions.
He's a
uh,
modest guy.
yes, they're fun ones. The first one, it was just on the oracles that are currently in use in DeFi. We'll be actually be writing an article about it probably next week. Um, but it's a really good one if you just want to know what oracles are currently being used and kind of how depressing the space is. Um, the next piece, they actually called me in for like a bonus session because somebody canceled. So I got to be on at 2 in the morning East Coast time, and I we threw together real quick. You can look at the slides. Mike did those. They look great for Oracle best practices, and it was like a 20-minute call. And just if you're going to use an Oracle in your project, what should you think about? It was a very kind of educational talk, and a lot of I think I actually got more engagement, and even like my Twitter blew up after that, just because I think a lot of people just watched that one and really liked the content. So definitely give them both a watch. You can just search the channel for DeFi discussions. As far as announcements, other ones during the week, um, yeah, we're just continuing to make things better. Been working a little bit on the miner when I get some chances. We're upgrading some of the PSRs and making it just a more robust database. We're including some better prices for people to use as settlement. Including end of day prices, more values to add to medians, even even just some other prices such as the gold price and things like that. So be watching out for those. I know I posted a little teaser on here. We're going to be doing some Teller scan updates. Nothing to kind of show you guys, but that's going to be kind of our focus this month. We're going to be really revamping some front end things. We know we're not really a front end company. There's not a whole lot of benefit to having a front end pieces just because our users interact with Teller through a smart contract. But it just sort of raises the level of professionalism of our project, gives users and the community just ways to interact with the smart contracts and also see what's going on underneath the hood if you're not somebody who works on the command line all day. So we're actually doing two pieces for the Teller scan. We're splitting it out. Teller scan it turned into this gigantic repo that was really hard to maintain, because Mike Kuhn actually did that for us, and then he left to do his own thing. And it's just a gigantic piece of code that we don't necessarily have the manpower to manage even on our own, since we're trying to focus on some of the other pieces. And so we're splitting it up into some smaller pieces. The one's going to be just like a price viewer. So, you'll be able to view Teller prices and just how the system's working, and some pieces like that. And then the other one, we're going to split off into more of a sort of a governance dashboard for disputing different values, and also voting on the disputes, and different pieces like that. So yeah, so those two pieces we're hoping to finish up this month. We're going to do a little sprint, and I'll work with some outside guys to get that done. So it should be fun. And super exciting news, starting to code up Teller V2. So thanks everyone who's kind of provided feedback on that. I know last month I gave the tech call on that, and a lot of you guys gave some good suggestions. So if you want to get involved with that, probably in about a month or so, we'll really start testing. Um, Probably just doing a lot more just audits and testing, and then probably hitting July, we'll want to be just up on Rinkeby and in full go. So if you guys want to help play around with that, reach out and let me know. A lot of bounties still available. We've had some people even start reaching out about the bounties, but um, if there's anything that you want to build too, we actually had there was a hack.money hackathon, and some people built on Teller. So we didn't sponsor it, and we didn't um, I actually hadn't even heard about it until people told me they were building on Tellor for it, and um, it was, yeah, people are starting to use it, and um, it's great because it shows us some of the pieces of Tellor, whether it's our documentation or pieces that we can make better. But if you want to build a project, let us know, and we'll see if we can throw a bounty towards it. And that said, kind of like I told you, I hadn't even heard of this thing. If um, one of the biggest things you guys can do as a community is pass us on things we should do. Um, basic, probably like every project that I've contacted about using Tellor over the past few months has been somebody telling me, here's this new project. They would look perfect for Tellor. Um, so if you guys see a new project that you find that might need Tellor, pass them on our way. And even with the DeFi discussions where I got a speaking slot, and somebody told us about them as well. So um, if you know of these events, if you know of these places that you think we should be, pass them on. That's the best way. It's the only way we will get to know about it, and we're trying to do the best we can to make sure that we spread the word about Tellor. So yeah, Mike, anything as far as announcements go?
No, that's good. You covered it all.
Okay.
Exciting times.
Yes.
Let's
So
hop into the questions. We're lighter on the questions. We have 15, so we could take our sweet time with these ones. I'll start at the top. Question number 1. Do you think our rather weak growth means there's still a lot to be worked out on the tokenomics side? I think this is the second week in a row I disagree with the premise of the question. I would say we don't have weak growth at all. I was just looking at our community growth numbers for this month because I'm about to put out the May update. And we've had our biggest Twitter growth month yet. And between Telegram, Discord, and Twitter, basically since we sort of launched, or since we got back from DevCon late last year, we've grown by 300 to 500 new members on Twitter and on Telegram and on Discord every month consistently. I don't know, it's just from our perspective, when I hear that, I'm curious what you're looking at, because we're really
yeah,
excited with how things are growing.
I mean, I'd say the community piece is definitely growing really well. I love the community that we're sort of building. It's awesome, and they seem actually engaged. I think maybe it's a little bit slower as far as growing on the adoption side, but I definitely would disagree that has anything to do with tokenomics. Um, usually the tokenomics piece is whenever people say, like, whenever people talk about tokenomics and growing a coin, it's like, maybe if you had, like, more staking or more something, then you could grow your community. But that's like the wrong way to think about growing, or it's probably they're talking more about price growth even. If you're trying to grow price or grow adoption through your tokenomics, it's like the
That's what they're talking
backwards.
about. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the backwards way, like having a token that slowly destroys itself and gets more valuable. Like, why not just try and get adoption and try and grow the community? That the tokenomics rarely has much to do with it. I think you're seeing that a lot with the Bitcoin halvening coming up to, like everyone's like, oh, it's such a big event, and it's like, well, it's sort of substituting. You have this giant event that's supposed to increase scarcity. Like, why don't you actually do something? The big thing that's going to give Bitcoin its value over time is, why don't you do something that actually gives it a real use case for people? And that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
So.
We could waste a lot of time trying to engineer price growth through various means, tokenomics means, or hype means, and partnerships and stuff like that. But then that takes away from actually building something that's going to have legs and longevity to it. So, if that's what you're looking for, we might not be the a project for you. We sort of always aim to have a nice steady growth, both with our community and in the price and in everything else. Um,
Yeah.
I
So, and
think
I think if
that's
you
what
even look at
we've achieved.
yeah, and even if you look at the price, like
Yeah.
the market cap, I think we're about to hit an all-time high again on the market cap, which is, yeah, it's super exciting. So
Yeah. So it's just depends on your perspective, I suppose. So, but thank you for your question. I won't judge you for it. Next one is: will Tether passing Ripple in market cap be a good day for crypto?
I don't know about
Between those
that.
two
Yeah.
projects, I mean, it's like six one, half a dozen the other.
Yeah. Pass.
Yeah, I don't know. I think no one will notice. Um, at what Teller wallet address count number would you consider distribution sufficiently decentralized? 10,000 wallets, 100,000 wallets.
I don't think that has anything to do with it. I'd say it's sort of sufficiently, the well, I think the wallet address doesn't count because, like, if you have one wallet that owns 50%,
Right.
then it's not really decentralized. But if you have, 1,000 parties even that have no ability to communicate with each other, um, really, or they don't communicate with each other, that's kind of sufficiently decentralized. I think, you just want to make sure that the community of holders is sort of diverse and aligned on a goal, but they don't let they aren't all sort of one entity or have outside goals that kind of all work
Yeah.
together against that.
And decentralization is not like a number. It's not like a number target. It's more nuanced than that. It's a blend of factors that create a sort of uh, a balance that is powerful and doesn't gives freedom to the network as a whole because of that.
Yeah,
So
because I think even if you had, like, like a party like band where you have these known entities, like, even if you had token holders, like even if you had 1 million token holders, but you knew who every single one of them was, and they were all, say, citizens of the state of Maryland here, um, and they all met up together on a weekend, like, that would not be decentralized. Like, you could go after them, and you would know where they're at, and they might have things that don't align with the users of Teller. So anyway, continue.
okay, where do you come down on the Hedgic versus Trail of Bits
Okay. Yeah. So
or the value of security audits in general?
Hedgic was an options platform. I don't know too much about it, but uh, they had a bug in their code. Basically, it was a typo, and they had no audit done, and I believe they didn't even have tests in their repo. It was just really bad practices all around, and there's it is a balance. There's a balance between, like, you saw some ICO projects launching a simple token contract, and they would get $60,000 audits done on their smart contract, and like that's overkill. And you also shouldn't shame somebody, if it's like a one man or even a 3-man team that does, like, they only get one audit or something like that. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think at some point, like, you should do some testing, and you should also be super careful about the money that people are throwing at these things. I think the users really need to be careful as well. If, like this one, they were very blatant and open about the fact that there was no audit or anything like that. What people should have done is just not put money in it. So it's like both the user issue and also supplier issue. Because yeah, I mean that there are no regulators here. You don't get your money back. So be more careful. And I think users, especially in the crypto world, everybody is like just searching for a rate. They're like, oh, this platform gives me 10%. Well, this one gives me 8%. So I'll go with the 10% one. It's like, no, like both of them, you have a much greater chance of both of those going to zero than you do of it actually giving you a return, just because they're all so new. You're expecting an annual return from a platform that's been around for 2 days. So
it's the greed bias. It's like when greed takes your mind over, like you get stupid and you don't look into if a project was audited or not, or it's wishful thinking. You're just like, oh, it's probably great, and sometimes it really turns out badly. But I think security audits obviously are going to be really important, and they are really important, and they will continue to be. Isn't there like a new DAO that formed or is forming that does audits? Have you
don't
heard of
know.
this? I don't know.
Yeah, no, there's some audit DAOs and things like that, but those are more like just the developer DAOs in general. They offer audits. So yeah, I think it's you just I want to see things that go slowly, because you want audits and you want more and more people to look at your code, but at the same time, like the biggest test of something being secure is how long it's been live and how much money is sort of riding on it. So, like Tellor, we've been live for 8 months, and we've had some price feeds going through, and our token value is going up in price, and that means way more than any audit like could ever mean. And then obviously once we start getting users and more value is secured by it, that means more than any audit, if that makes sense. So
Makes sense to me. This is third week we've had this question. How financially motivated are you? No right, wrong answer. Maybe we skipped it last week or something and they asked again. My mind goes to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So like I'm financially motivated as much as my personal security and the human need for shelter and is taken care of. If you guys aren't familiar with this hierarchy of needs, just Google it. It's a pyramid. Basically, it starts off with like you need to have shelter and you need to have food, and that gives you access to the next level above, which is I forget what it is now, but it's like other pursuits, like the pursuits of your interests, and that gives you access to fulfillments. These things that are higher up in the pyramid, but without having your finances in order, you don't have the opportunity for those things. And so I think money is very, very important thing, but it's probably not a good idea to have that be your sole motivator, because it's pretty empty.
yeah, I mean, I'd say we're a little bit different than some other, especially DeFi projects in the space, in that like we were all sort of making more money before we decided to do the crypto startup. And whenever you come into that, it's we did this because we actually believe in what we're building, and we want to see it come alive. We don't want, we're not doing this to become billionaires, although it would be cool, but it's the primary motivation is to build something that we really believe in it and we can see and grow it into a success. So yeah, it's we're definitely not as financially motivated as maybe some other projects out there, but then at the same point, like we have families and need to pay our bills. So
yeah. I couldn't wake up every morning and be like, think of $1 million and just like have that like give me drive for the day. Like you have to really like what you're doing and believe in what you're doing, and then hopefully that turns into financial success. So anyway, a bigger exchange would let you sell more of your dev share without depressing the price, right? Yeah, in theory.
I don't know. Didn't you guys see our volume shut up? We're at like $10 million a day in volume.
It's
I don't know. I
true.
don't know what you guys are talking about.
Bid or not bid or whatever it is.
Yeah. So
But
no,
we haven't had that much trouble. We're not selling like
no.
massive amounts of the dev share, and we've relied on some OTC as well. So, but the answer to your question is yes, it would, but it hasn't been. We haven't been like, oh crap, we don't want to tank the price to sell off a little bit of dev share. It hasn't been a problem.
Yeah, we're not really trying to manage the price one way or another. So
That's true. That's true. There's always a buyer to every seller.
yeah.
Do you see yourselves as teachers? I think for sure we do. We haven't done this in a while actually, but we would do like on Tuesdays we would do. The three of us would take turns teaching a topic, and it wouldn't be necessarily crypto related, but often it has been. But you know, Nick has done a ton on blockchain and then finance stuff and economic stuff, and I did one on what was it?
Gut health.
It was something to do with nutrition.
Yeah.
It was on leaky gut. So anyway, we do like to teach and learn. I think we're all like learners and teachers.
Yeah. I mean,
I was a professor for like one semester, I have to say, at a community college, teaching communications, and that was an interesting experience. So
yeah. Well, I think it's sort of our role, kind of like with any new technology or anytime you're trying to get adoption. It's our Teller's success in general hinges upon our ability to be a good teacher and tell them why Teller and our approach is important. It's not just one of these things where you can look like we don't have the sale point where it's, listen, we're cheaper and better, or we're cheaper and faster. Like that's not a selling point. Like our selling point is like much more philosophical, and why we are built like we are. So you sort of have to, it does take a little bit of that teacher mentality to get that across to people. So yeah, I think there's one. And then also just anytime you're in the crypto space in general, you have to be a teacher with all the new people coming in. You have to show them how things work, and you have to make sure that people are following best practices and doing best things, or else the whole space is going to go down.
nice. I think I think anybody who's gotten into crypto has been a teacher, at some point, because you're always sharing. When you tell I don't know, your parents about what is this crypto thing you're into, or your friends, you try to get them into it. Like it takes that, there's an educational aspect of it. And it's the same thing with us, educating the whole community about decentralization and why the Oracle part is such an important piece of the puzzle. And I think if you look at our Medium content, you see that a lot of it is bent towards having that sort of educational bent to it. So, and we could use your help. The better you guys learn about us and the more questions you ask and the better we can teach you, the better you'll actually pass that along as well as ambassadors of the project. So ask as many questions as you can. Next one is, if Tether is fractional reserve and the fractional reserve banking system works, then isn't Tether fine?
Sure.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the fractional reserve banking system works until it doesn't. That's always, like if Teller has 90% reserves in there, usually what happens with the problem isn't that it will function on a day-to-day basis. It has enough for people to kind of redeem and and switch out on a day-to-day basis. But whenever bank runs hit, it all dries up really, really fast because there's not enough there, and it leads to more instability. So, if you have like a 10% reserve requirement, and if people know this and they start to get afraid that they're not going to be able to get the money, then everyone's going to withdraw it really fast, and it's going to go. Same with if there's a 50%, like here in crypto, if that drains and starts to get down by zero, everyone's just going to rush for the exits. And that's what has happened in kind of past crises here in the US. Back whenever we were kind of on a gold reserve, banks would run out of money, which would lead to more people showing up to get money who wouldn't even want it anyway. So, the crisis leads to a crisis. And that's why, in the early like 1900s, whenever they would have a bank run, the tellers, and I think there was one famous banker, he stood out front and he just put all the piles of cash. There wasn't nearly enough there for everyone, but he was just saying, of course there's enough for everyone. Come, look at all these bags of money we have. And and it just led to sort of more confidence in people that there is enough. So because money is sort of this shell game that you have. So yeah, I mean, it works, but then anytime you dip under, and how you sort of audit how much they actually have versus that, it gets
A
tricky.
lot of crypto projects are playing that shell game.
Yes.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, of course, fractional reserve banking works. But yeah, how much do you feel comfortable with? It's always the problem.
I think the way you said it was perfect. Like so many, all the centralized systems out there, they're not inherently bad, but they're good until they're not.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a really, I think it's a good, concise way to think about it. And we're trying to build things that are unstoppable. That's why we use that terminology, like, so you don't have that problem.
Right.
This one's a very morbid one. Since the team is very small, are you worried that if, God forbid, something happened to one of you, it would kill Tellor?
Yeah.
I can say I've thought of that yet.
Yeah, no, that's what we were joking. We're just gonna draw straws later this summer and knock one of us off, just to see how we survive.
It should be a Tellor. It should be a governance vote.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously it would be a tragedy, and you want to make sure that you have the practices in place. I think you would definitely have to, we try and just document everything. Now, it was a big problem, even if you've ever worked on a small team. In general, you want to make sure that documentation is always up to date. So that way, like, the biggest problem with small teams in general would be like, if somebody died, then like we don't have access to any of our bank accounts or our funds. You want to make sure that doesn't happen, and you want to make sure that like everything can keep running, and then you can sort of work on the loss when it comes to the vision or one of those pieces later. So yeah, ultimately everyone is replaceable, but you would definitely want to just make sure that you have good steps in place to handle anything, and I think we're good on that piece, just because we've all been in traditional jobs, and we're decent at kind of documenting and organizing just the business processes. So yeah.
Yeah, but see, no amount of documentation is going to help me do your job, though. So
Right.
stay healthy, sir.
Yeah.
Are you being too frugal with your dev share? Money is a tool, and we are likely entering the 18-month bull phase of the 4-year crypto cycle. Be aggressive.
Man, I didn't know. No, noted. Yeah, I agree. Hopefully we definitely want to use it. So
yeah.
we will.
Honestly, I think it has nothing to do with an 18-month bull phase or anything like that. But we feel that too, and we're turning it up. Uh, it's just you guys don't always see exactly what's going on. We try to be as transparent as possible with those things. And
Yeah, because you want to, we run off of the dev share, and you want to make sure that you have enough sort of runway to keep things going, and you can't necessarily plan on any given price for things. So although it's, the price is nice at the moment, if it shoots down to a $2 range for some reason, if all of crypto tanks again, God forbid, uh what does it look like, and you can't sort of discount that possibility. So
yeah, so um, yeah, we got to balance being aggressive with not shooting ourselves in the foot too. So, but really great comment or great question. Next is for Nick. Whose opinions do you value the most in crypto?
and I don't even know. um Yeah, I'd have to get back to you on that. Probably just a mix of different people. There's a lot of people. You can go look at who I follow on Twitter or whatever. There's been a lot of people who have been kind of influential to me over the past, but it's probably not any one person in particular. Usually it's, for various security pieces or more coding pieces, I have different people. Vitalik's obviously really good on, much more general Ethereum pieces, but then crypto has a lot of economic pieces that are kind of subsequent to that, or you have people who think more about the structure of governance and things like that. So there's all these separate pieces, but yeah, maybe I can put together a list at some point.
Yeah, I'm going to throw out Thomas J. Rush as a name.
Yeah, I love Jay Rush.
He's awesome. He's got great opinions. Follow him and run your own node.
Yeah.
Vitalik tweeted, "The narrative for Ethereum hasn't changed. It's just expanded." Do you agree? I guess this is along the conversation about Bitcoin's, their sort of narrative has changed.
I would say it changed. I know maybe not in Vitalik's head, but narratives are usually driven by the community at large, and it definitely has changed a lot. So, because I remember originally, like whenever Ethereum was launching back in, early 2015, when I got into Ethereum, and it was like, oh, you were going to run a website on Ethereum. It was going to be the world's computer. You'd have your browser that goes there and talks to the HTML page. That was like something like that was what it was going to enable, and you'd have these fully decentralized marketplaces, and yeah, it was going to be much different. And that was like the whole vision of the world computer, and then that kind of went away when we realized it couldn't scale. And um it was, yeah, so the narrative is, and then it became like, I don't know, fuel for other applications, kind of in like the whole ICO boom. And it's just sort of rolled with it. But yeah, I'd say that the narrative has definitely changed, and now it's sort of on this DeFi piece with it, which I think it fits nicely with. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. So
I got DM'd a question that's addressed to you, though. How long did it take you to get through Infinite Jest?
oh, my book in the background. I think that was probably 2 months. So my former government job, I had like an hour-long commute each way, mainly on the train. So I would read for like an hour each way, an
Yeah.
infinite jest, and I have stacks and stacks of shelves of books because I would just read for 2 hours every day, and it was a great. I think that was
It
like,
looks like a doozy.
yeah, it was like, no, Infinite Jest is a huge doozy. Amazing, amazing book though. His some of his other works are a little bit harder to get through, but he's definitely one of my favorite authors, and just a great thinker in general. So yeah, definitely go watch. There's a few videos. David Foster Wallace. If you're into just kind of philosophy in general, he's worth a read, worth a listen before you go buy a book, before
Yeah,
you go buy a doorstop.
for
So
sure. Um, lost my place here. Is Hex, the project by Richard Hart, the new BitConnect? What can Tellor learn from its fundamentals? How do you feel about the role of Uniswap LPs in this?
Yeah, so Hex is it's a scam, pyramid scheme, probably going to be very similar to BitConnect when it all blows up. Yeah, and I mean, some people are saying like Uniswap is, they're decentralized and they shouldn't do anything. They should allow Hex to list. Other people should say they should like do more to delist them or speak out against it. And I mean, really, as a community, you have to like Mike and I were talking about this the other day. Like, Ethereum, like how many what percentage of coins are just complete shit out there? Like 90% of them, but you don't really speak out against them, even though they're launching on Ethereum. It's really like the whole ecosystem of Ethereum, most of the tools, everything is just built on dumping on speculators, to be honest. It's just, the whole 2017 ICO boom, like Ethereum in general could have stopped it. But that's like the route of decentralization, and people build things you don't want them to build. I think you'll see the big thing you can learn is that people are going to build things that you don't want them to build. I think you'll see a shift in, people are actually using it in a decentralized way whenever they're building just complete garbage that should probably be illegal. Um, like that means Ethereum's truly decentralized, and I think Tellor will probably have those moments in the future where people are using Tellor to build just absolute pieces of garbage. But it'll be awesome. It'll be the way of the future. Just be smart out there. Hopefully. Yeah, like I think you'll see like Ethereum is actually a DeFi platform or something like that, or something that we want it to be, a narrative we want it to be. Whenever like go look at like ETH gas station, like 5 of the top 20 apps are just scams. Even the top one's Tether, and then you got a bunch of just pure pyramid schemes. Once those aren't the majority of activity on Ethereum, then maybe we're getting somewhere. But right now, Ethereum, even in general, like if you look at what people are actually using gas on, it's just speculation, and even like worse than speculation, it's like these scams. So yeah. Anyway, not even the question.
Richard Hart is a character, though. I'll give him that. Um, what do you say to DeFi projects that use Chainlink and says they are by far the most easy to develop and full-featured one? The liveness issues are minor to us. Sounds like you're quoting somebody.
Yeah.
Well, they don't say that to us in private. That might be what they say in public for reasons.
Yeah.
No, but to be honest, and Nick, you could probably speak to this because you speak developer to developer to these guys. But we want to know, want to understand the thought process and the decision-making process behind that. And very often, what we've heard, if they're using a centralized Oracle or Chainlink, it's because it serves a purpose at the early stage for them, and that usually the projects will have some sort of value system in their minds around decentralizing down the line, and something that they aspire to, and then so that's why they're interested in talking with us. And so we end up being just more curious, and try to encourage them to do that sort of thing sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I mean that just comes into the education piece. I would say,
yeah,
assuming you have an Oracle that is perfect and instantaneous, like you can hand wave over some of the development pieces, and some projects do that by just using Chainlink, and it just like it sort of comes down to like even the layer one pieces. Like if you're choosing your layer one blockchain on which one's the easiest to develop on, yes, you want to pick one that's easy to develop on, but at the same point, like there's a lot of fundamental differences and other reasons you should be picking which blockchain you're building on. You know, if you're choosing Ethereum because it's, you know, you're not going to choose Ethereum if you want the fastest one. You're going to choose Ethereum if you want a decentralized one. And we honestly want to make the developer experience as smooth as humanly possible. So, you know, and that's, I really don't think that the developer piece is the issue, because we haven't had that pushback in any way from projects. You know, it's much more of it's much more on the design discussions that we're having and what it would look like. It's not, you know, we have open source, it's pretty easy to implement Solidity code. It's not rocket science for these guys. So
yeah, one thing we pride ourselves on is being hands-on and easy to implement as well. So anyway, how much liquidity is required to list on Kyber? Would you guys be keen to support a community Kyber pool? Last I spoke with those guys, it was, if hopefully I'm remembering correctly here, I think it's 25 grand on each side. So Ethereum and then our token. So quite a bit.
yeah, I mean, we can always put up a Tellor fund for it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money though. I think my questions there would be, do you guys really want Kyber? Like who wants to trade on Kyber versus who wants an announcement that we're trading on Kyber? Because
Exactly.
yeah, anybody that trades on Kyber likely also trades on IDEX. So or on Uniswap, you know, it's not. Yeah, that would be my question.
Timelines for shipping V2?
God, I hate giving dev timelines. But
We've
yeah,
said we've given a general
yeah, so
4 to 6 months for the last.
yeah, hopefully 3 to 4 months.
I think that's I mean, that's honestly what we're aiming for, guys. Last question is favorite movies. I have some go-tos. I would say Jaws is definitely, like, I have a few number ones, I guess, but that's my go-to number one.
Mike's the movie guy
I think
here.
Jaws
He
is a
could go
perfect
forever.
so.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm a Lord of the Rings. The original trilogy is just my go-to for.
Oh, nice.
For movies.
Yeah, those are great.
Yep. So, yeah, that's probably about it. Anyway, but yeah, thanks everyone for the questions. Feel free, ping us anytime, ask us more questions, and looking forward to getting some projects from you guys. Anyway, talk to you guys later.
See you next time.